Hi all. It's not really part 3. This just want to answer some of the questions that were left. I've had about 2,500 comments. It's gone quite well, this video. A few questions on there. One was, what did I do when the police had left? Well, I just carried on. Now, it's not that I'm against the police telling me what to do with regard to flying a drone, because they have every right to. They if they have an emergency, or there's been a report of like a gas leak or something in the area, they have every right. But as I think most of you agree, that they simply can't come over because the security have said, oh, we don't want him flying over our site. This also brought back memories of me being down the road from here, about half a mile down the road, and I was detained, but I wasn't even flying a drone on that day. I was just photographing. But because they didn't know the law, they detained me, put me in the back of a car. And then when I tried to make a claim for them for an unlawful detention, they claimed that I'd sat in the car because the road was dangerous, where they'd pulled me in. Unbelievable. Yeah, other questions I had was, why's your camera setup changed? Now, I recognise, the photography was terrible. But when you go out to do your photography, you just have it in the back of your mind that you might not have an encounter, so you don't have to have that set up. So I had no body camera on. I had an iPhone on the front of my bike, and I had a GoPro on the back of the bike. And unfortunately, they managed to stand just in between the two. So apologies, I'll sort it for next time.
Stupid.
The way I mark up the drone, and this is down to the fact that I've seen the way that they contort themselves to try and get the number off it, the ID. What I tend to do is put it on the base, but also have it running up either side, because then from any one angle, you caught with a body-worn camera just can't get it. And obviously, if you want to put any other numbers on it, you can do so. You can cover it in numbers if you want. There's nothing unlawful about that, as long as you have the ID somewhere, the relevant ID somewhere else. Right, so I had a message off a guy called Nick, so I thank him for this, who has corrected me on something that I say when they ask for my details regarding the drone. And I tend to say, I don't have to give you that unless you think I've committed an offence. Now, I don't know where I got that from. I think I got it from DJ Audits or Ace Audits or DJE Media, but I know that I've picked it up from somewhere thinking, yeah, that sounds about right. Anyway, it looks like I'm wrong. And I thought I'd better look into it. So what he's saying is that I'm mistaken. The law changed in 2021 under the Traffic Management and Unmanned Aircraft Act 2021, and it gives me the schedule and the section. And he then tells me that this is the section. The constable may require P, which is the person, to provide such information as the constable considers reasonable as to the identity of the person or persons who are or were the UAS operator for the flight, or the person or persons who made the unmanned aircraft available for use by P. Now, he hasn't included a very important part of this, so we'll head over there and look at it. So here we are, Air Traffic Management and Unmanned Aircraft Act 2021. Schedule 9, and we'll go down to the section that Nick was talking about. So here it is, section 2. So as you can see, the text is the same that Nick had. A constable may exercise the power conferred by this paragraph, blah, 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 as reasonable grounds, flight by an unmanned aircraft or flight by a drone, and P, the person is or was the pilot. But the most important part of this is that word there, and. Because what that means is that this section here also is relevant to that stop. So, the constable, when he's requesting the information, has to have reasonable grounds for suspecting that a relevant registration requirement is or was applicable as respects the UAS operator for the unmanned aircraft and the flight. Now, what that means is the relevant registration requirement is going to be the operator ID and the flyer ID, if there is one, and the A2 CFC certificate, if it's required, and so on and so forth. Bear that in mind, and what we'll do is we will nip over to the drone code. Now, it says here that if you're flying a drone that is below 250 grams and it's a toy, you don't need flyer ID or operator ID. Likewise, if it's below 250, not a toy, and it has no camera, you don't need flyer ID and operator ID. So, if you were to have a drone which was in either of these categories, you wouldn't need any documentation. You wouldn't need any competency requirement. Now, you might think to yourself, well, yeah, but obviously we're not flying that. We have a camera, and it's not a toy. It doesn't matter what you have, what you're flying, and what is the capability of the drone, camera-wise. If the officer doesn't know what you have, he has to have reasonable grounds for suspecting that a relevant registration requirement is or was applicable. And unless he has that, then the sentence above it doesn't mean anything. He has no right for you to demand your identity and any operator ID or flyer ID. Luckily enough, at the moment, we tend to be in this this no man's land of legislation knowledge, and a lot of people that you deal with, including the drone operators, don't appear to know the law. Nobody's actually come over to me and said, well, I want your details under this. So I think that the new legislation is already filtering down. I don't think they quite understand it yet, the police. But I was watching a Nobody Poor video the other day, and Man Bun ended up giving his details over. So I suspect that they're already getting to the stage where they think they can demand ID, and they can demand the operator's ID and the flyer's ID, and so on and so forth. So we just got to stay ahead of the game. And what I'll be doing from now on is just quoting this, just say, according to the Air Traffic and Management and Unmanned Aircraft Act 2021, Schedule 9, Section 1 and 2, you need to have reasonable grounds for suspecting that my drone has relevant competency requirements. What are the reasonable grounds? And hopefully, that will just help us fend off that inquiry. Certainly, if there's nobody available in the control room that is au fait with drones, then they'll just probably say, just leave it. Obviously, if you're going to be able to use this tactic properly, you can't give them grounds. So that little chat that they want, what you doing, mate? Oh, I'm just getting some aerial footage. That's blown it. You've already told them that there's a camera on there. If they see a screen, if they see the camera on the drone, that's blown it. I think the best way to use this for now is to make sure that when you see the police turn up, that the drone comes down and it goes away in your bag with the remote control. Or just cover it, because I don't think they can go over and and inspect it